when asking a question. And we'll start. Andy, how's it feel to be back at Wimbledon?
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, obviously as well after the last few years we obviously didn't happen a couple of years ago, and then last year, obviously kind of different circumstances, staying in the the bubble and everything, and I don't think it was full capacity last year either. So, yeah, nice to be back playing Wimbledon as normal.
Helena?
Hi Andy, you said on Monday that you still weren't able to hit a couple of shots and you still weren't quite sure about your participation in the tournament. Kind of how have things gone since then, and how are you feeling about the app?
Yeah, it's gone well. Yeah, I've been able to gradually progress my training this week and got to play a few sets and a lot of points, and yeah, last few days have been good.
Kerry BBC Scotland, Andy. I saw you hit with Dan yesterday on one. It looked like you were enjoying it. It looked like you were hitting the ball well. Seeing Ivan there, I just wonder, him coming back with you, how much does that reinforce your conviction that there's still good tennis left in you, conceivably maybe even this fortnight?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I think I showed a couple of weeks ago that there was still good tennis left in me. I mean, I beat a guy in the top 5 in the world, and was neck and neck with Berrettini, who's one of the best grass court players in the world before the injury, and played well against Kyrgios as well. For the first set was a good level. So, and I've been doing pretty well in practices. So, yeah, I know that the tennis is in there. I just need to bring it out, during the event now. And yeah, obviously having Ivan in my team, helps. We've had a lot of success in the past. We know each other well, and he still believes in me. And there's not loads of coaches, people out there that have done over this last period, and he has. So that definitely helps me.
Andy, hi. I understand you're staying quite close to Wimbledon this time. You've got a rented apartment. I just wondered, what was the decision behind that, and who's doing the cooking? Are you doing it?
So I don't know if I'm gonna stay there. I have rented an apartment, which my dad is staying in, but there's an extra room, which, I mean, it's very close to the tournament or the venue. And yeah, I may stay there if I have a late finish or an early match. We moved houses sort of around Wimbledon time last year. Obviously, last year was different because we stayed in the bubble, but I'm a little bit further away now, and with what's been going on with the trains and stuff, traffic's been tricky, and I don't want to be in a situation where I'm spending an hour and a half to get here in the car and hour and a half on the way home. It's just to potentially limit the amount of travel, and be a little bit closer.
Your dad's a cook.
Excuse me?
Does your dad cook? Do you remember you do?
Yeah, he's a pretty good cook, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'll probably eat most of my meals here, or use one of the apps.
Hi Andy, I just wanted to pick up on Ivan being here with you. You've mentioned in the past in relation to the hip injury that perhaps there were periods in your career where you felt in retrospect that you'd overtrained, and no blame placed on Ivan, but maybe that coincided with periods that you were working with him. Is that something that you two have discussed this time around, sort of looking back and retrospect?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke not necessarily about any of the training that I did in the past, but more the future, and the place in my career that I am just now. And he obviously played into his 30s as well, and as he got older, reduced the amount of training and stuff that he was doing himself. So we spoke about that a little bit, and the amount that I would be doing moving forwards, and we obviously did quite a long training block over in Orlando after Miami. We spent like 4 or 5 weeks there and spent a lot of time on court with him. But yeah, it was obviously less than what we did in the past. Which is just common sense, and communicate through my team as well. The work that I'm doing off the court to supplement the on court work, and maybe just being a little bit more collaborative on that side of things. Maybe sometimes in the past, like, I would do my tennis work and then the fitness team would do their fitness work, whereas now there's maybe a little bit more planning and strategy around that, which, when you're younger, maybe I probably should have done it more when I was younger, but, didn't have so many issues. So, things have changed a bit.
I'm going to go to Stuart.
What do you make of the challenge facing James? You've played him a couple of times before, and he's had his own hip problems. I wonder if you'd ever discussed that with him.
I haven't discussed the hip issues. I know he had an operation after the Australian Open this year. I don't know exactly, what the issues were with his hip or what surgery and stuff he had done, but obviously takes a bit of time coming back, depending on the severity of the operation, etc. I think he was playing after about 3.5-4 months maybe, which, if it is what I think it probably is, then that makes makes sense. And look, he's a guy that he's had quite a few operations. I think he's had quite a few injury issues over the years, but he's proper hard worker, and got up to I think his career high ranking last year. He finished last year extremely well, like the second half of the year, and obviously had the surgery. So obviously wish him well coming back from the surgery, and sure we'll have a good match on Monday.
Andy, what are your thoughts about the tournament's decision on the Russian and Belarusian players, and then the tour's response with the ranking points move?
I have spoken about this quite a few times. I understand why the decision was taken. I also know quite a few of the on the men's side, quite a few of the Russian players and the Belarusian players pretty well, and I'm friendly with them. I get on well with them. And I feel bad for them as well. I can also understand the frustration on their side. And in terms of the response from the ATP, I didn't agree with it. I just don't see who it helps. All the players have still showed up to play here, so I don't see how it puts the ATP in a stronger position moving forwards, but that's just my opinion.
Do you mind?
Hi, Lee. You mentioned that Ivan is one of the kind of few people who have always believed in you, I guess coaches. Has it ever been, have you ever taken it personally or been personally hurt by hearing people who haven't believed in you that you could come back and be successful?
No, not really. It hasn't hurt me. In many ways it's been like a motivation, and I've also spoken to a number of coaches that when throughout my from memory up until this period, I think there was maybe one or two times when I'd spoken to coaches about potentially working with me, and it hadn't worked out. But for the most part, when I had conversations with coaches and the potential of working with someone, it had come off most of the time and worked out. Whereas this time round, got got turned down by a lot of coaches. So yeah, that's obviously was that was obviously difficult, to deal with, because I don't know how, I'm sure there's obviously good coaches out there. I don't know how many that are top, maybe top level coaches that maybe you really want to work with if you're trying to win the major events. So yeah, that was difficult, and that's also why I'm grateful that Ivan has come back to work with me and help me try and achieve what it is I want to achieve.
Hi Nick, Jonathan, BBC Sport. I just wanted to ask you about the scrutiny you face as a British player here, and how that's evolved over the years. It's something you've enjoyed, and how's it changed? And have you given any advice to somebody like Emir Raducanu about that challenge of facing that scrutiny?
I haven't given advice to Emma or any of the British players on how to deal with that side of things. No one has asked me to. I'd be more than happy to, but I'm also not going to call up one of the players and just say, hey, this is how you should deal with it, because that's the right way to go, because everyone is different and everyone feels things in a different way, and will handle it differently. And I certainly didn't handle things perfectly during the Wimbledon period, but I can also understand probably the different emotions and stresses that you can feel coming into this tournament, because it is great and it is amazing, but there is challenges that come with it, and it's difficult. But I don't know how much it has changed over the years. I mean, maybe for me, right at the beginning of your career, there's not really much expected of you, and then quite quickly a lot is, the better you do and the higher your ranking is, then a lot is expected of you, and there is a lot of pressure. And then maybe this year and last year, for me anyway, there's been very little from the outside. Obviously still put pressure on myself to perform well and do well, so that's how it's been for me throughout my career, but certainly in the middle part of it, it was pretty intense.
Harry?
Hi, Andy. Harry Pratt, Daily Star Sunday. We've seen in recent weeks with golf the influence of Saudi Arabia and their growing influence in sport. Is it something that's ever discussed by the tennis players, what might happen should they try and get involved in tennis? And what would your reaction be if you were offered a great sack full of money to play on a different tour?
They did. They put on an event in Saudi Arabia a few years ago, and I was offered to play there, and I know a number of the other guys on the tour were offered to play there. I don't think the player field that went was what they were hoping, and yeah, a lot of I would say that the top players and bigger names turned it down, and I personally wouldn't go and play there.
Yannick Schneider, Sportschau Germany. If you want to answer this question, you were one of the players in advance of installing the biological blood passport in 2013, around this year. Since then, a lot of happened, and a lot of blood testing has happened. Also, blood passport testing has happened. Some in advance notice, some without notice. What I find the problem is that from the ITF statistics, only 2 blood tests in competition in the full year 2021 were taken, and I want to know your opinion in this physical sport, best of 5, if you would like more blood tests during slams or during tournaments besides from the biological blood passport.
Yeah, I mean, I think the more testing that's done, the better, and obviously the more, I assume, the more random nature of it, the more beneficial it would be. I know when I was, playing at the top of the game in terms of my ranking, there was I felt like I got tested a lot. I don't know. I think that last year, the early part of last year in 2020, there was quite a reduction in the amount of testing that was taking place. I think in part because of COVID, partly, but certainly I think like the second part of last year and this year, that's not really been the case. But yeah, I definitely think that the more random nature of testing is beneficial. I think if players are given advanced warning, that's probably not gonna work. So yeah, I would be supportive of more random testing, and the more testing the better.
Thank you. We're going to wrap up there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.